Hey everyone, Daniel here and welcome back to another video. Here today, I gotta give you guys an update on Voyager Digital. We have a lot to talk about, a lot of things have happened over the past couple of weeks, and in this video I want to focus on four main things. First and foremost, a new partnership that was announced with Victor Oladipo in an advertising campaign. Secondly, we're going to go through Voyager's App Store data and see how it compares to potential funded account growth going forwards. Next, we're going to look at my 2021 price targets for Voyager Digital stock. We'll cover the token a little bit. And lastly, we'll finish it off giving my thoughts on Voyager Digital as a stock at this moment in time and what I am doing. So if you enjoy these updates, please consider subscribing and let's get into it, guys. First and foremost, Voyager Digital announces partnership with two-time NBA All-Star Victor Oladipo. So I'm going to leave this article in the description down below if you want to kind of read the whole thing. I'm just going to go through some of the highlights here and give you guys exactly kind of, what impacts Voyager the most as a company. First and foremost, Victor Oladipo, he is an NBA player, so basketball, widely known across the United States and around the world. He currently plays on the Miami Heat. So any potential kind of benefits coming to Voyager will most likely be concentrated within Miami, but due to the almost like the status of his name around the United States, I believe that it will be felt nationally when we talk about the potential signups coming to Voyager because of this partnership. This is, I believe, their second partnership with a celebrity, and in my opinion, these celebrity partnerships are some of the best ways for Voyager to market. Here's why. When we talk about what kind of happened here with this partnership, let me read this. This partnership is part of the company's launch of Voyager for Good, a breakthrough referral program in the cryptocurrency space that awards the charity of an athlete's choice with digital assets each time a new account is opened and traded with a special referral code. First and foremost, this partnership is done for charity. And, secondly, we also have to understand this, it's done through a referral program. So, all proceeds are going to a charity of Victor's choice. In this case, this is his own charity, his own foundation that the proceeds are going to be going towards. And the money is essentially going to be collected in a referral program kind of way. So obviously we know Voyager Digital does have their own referral program, but they're really doing this or kind of building off of that to build this Voyager for Good, allowing potential athletes like Victor Oladipo to go ahead, sign up with Voyager and say, all right, use my referral code. If you sign up and deposit $100, you're going to get $25 in Bitcoin for free as an incentive to sign up. And we're also going to give $25 to this charity. And obviously they're talking about here, these are some remarks from Victor and some remarks from Steve Ehrlich. But this is interesting here. Oladipo is actually pretty an early adopter of cryptocurrencies. And he actually made a recent acquisition of real estate using cryptocurrencies as a portion of payment. Very, very interesting seeing that Victor not only is getting involved in the cryptocurrency space through Voyager, but has already been an adopter of it in its early phases and used it as, a portion of purchase when actually buying his house, which is, kind of interesting from this perspective. Next here, again, it just goes a little more in depth into exactly what's happening with this program. You deposit essentially $100 into Voyager using his referral code, and, at the same time, you're going to get $25 as an incentive to sign up. And they're going to donate $25 to the Oladipo Foundation. You can read a little more about exactly what the foundation does, but it's a very kind of feel-good moment. And the fact that it is done specifically for charity might be another incentive for individuals to actually sign up and use the referral program alongside that. One more additional thing, using a referral program instead of general just advertisements or even a one-time payment with kind of like athletes really incentivizes them to find creative ways to get people to sign up for Voyager, as it isn't based off of a one-time potential Instagram post. It's based off of the amount of referrals collected. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forwards, but needless to say, this Voyager for Good program is an awesome way to acquire new customers. And when we look at their kind of different ways that they plan on acquiring customers through their acquisition model, it's 5 main ways. Affiliate and influencer relationships. This is right here, obviously through the affiliate program, influencer relationships. They obviously have a lot more ways of advertising, content marketing, social media and community, promotions and sponsorships, and paid advertising through, Google search, things along those lines. There are a lot of different ways Voyager can continue to expand their business. This is just one, and I find it very interesting that they're getting into this athlete space of really focusing in on partnering with athletes to grow their community. Let me know what you guys think about this partnership with Victor Oladipo in the comments section down below. Now I want to talk about Voyager Digital's ranking when it comes to the App Store. Currently, Voyager is 33rd comparing to other finance-related apps within the App Store, which is generally on the higher end, historically speaking, but is down from their 3 all-time high peaks that they reached back in early May, back in mid-April, and back in late March. When we look at how this kind of chart flows, we'll see that these kind of peaks, they come and they go. And I think a lot of this is due to the fact that whenever Voyager experiences a surge in demand of their product and in downloads and signups of their app, they generally tend to implement a short-term waitlist due to the surge in demands to prevent their platform from shutting down. So, we see these massive spikes of user downloads, potential waitlist implementation, we see it go down, waitlist gets removed, goes back up, and you kind of see the cycle start to repeat. Now, in kind of late May, early June, we're planning on having a system upgrade complete that should be able to handle over 10 million total kind of accounts at once, which is a lot higher than their current 400,000 total funded accounts and 1 million verified users. So after that system upgrade is complete, there shouldn't really be a need for a waitlist going forwards, and it will allow for Voyager to maintain, hopefully, this kind of higher status when it comes to App Store rankings. Now, what I did here, I wanted to see if there was a correlation between total funded account growth and kind of status when it comes to this App Store ranking. So what I did, I took the data over the past, March, April, and what we've seen here into May, I added it all up and found an average. In the case of March, we had an average of Voyager being in 34th place when it comes to the App Store under all finance-related apps. In April, we saw an actual decline. It then kind of went down to 41st place. And when we look into May, we're actually, higher than we were back in March and April on an average basis. But what's very interesting here is that despite March being a better month when it comes to their ranking in the App Store, we actually saw more new verified or new funded accounts in April than we saw in March. And I think this is due to the fact that, funded accounts tend to be sometimes delayed. Like in March, we had a lot of new individuals sign up and download the Voyager app, but a lot of those people were placed onto a wait list, which lasted up until middle of April. And those customers who downloaded the app back in March were only able to download it in April, which essentially caused a bit of a delay in data. So when we look at this, we only really see the effects of this potentially in April. We only see the effects of this potentially in May, and we'll only see the effects of May in June. I think that's how it works, and that's kind of the correlation that I found, because in March, despite being in 34th place, we saw 95,000 new funded accounts. Phenomenal. In April, we actually dropped 7 places, but new funded accounts increased 140%, or 140,000 versus 95,000 in March. And in May, we'll see what ends up happening, but I'm expecting a big beat when it comes to new funded accounts compared to April, potentially in the 140, 150. If we maintain kind of go back up to these levels of 15th to 17th, it wouldn't surprise me to have 160,000 new funded accounts in the month of May. So what we know is that an increase in the ranking of Voyager Digital on the App Store does directly lead to an increase in new funded accounts, but the thing is, this waitlist that we have experienced does delay the data by right around 1 month, and is one of the things that skews that correlation. But once this waitlist does go away with the system upgrade that should be coming online within the next month or two, we should see that correlation come again. Now, what we're going to do here is take a look at my 2021 price targets, but before we do that, we have to take a look and really dive deep into my January, February, March, and April numbers, because to understand, my full 2021 numbers, we have to understand how I get the first 4 months. For January, the first thing that we need to talk about is assets under management. Voyager Digital has been growing their assets under management significantly from January to April, starting with $750 million in January, growing to $3.3 billion in customer assets by April. What we also saw was pretty much a parallel increase of principal value traded alongside that. So in January, $840 million, in February, $1.6 billion, in March, $2.5 billion. In April, they didn't give us this number, but assuming this correlation, this one-to-one correlation between assets under management and principal value traded stayed the same, we can assume principal value traded in the month of April of at least $3.3 billion. Now, the way we calculate revenue is by calculating the commission that Voyager takes from principal value traded. So in January, they took right around a 1% commission from $840 million in total volume traded and got $8.6 million in revenue. In February, this percentage actually increased to 1.25%, most likely due to the increased trading of altcoins on the platform. This led revenue to increase to $20 million because 1.25% of $1.6 billion in this situation is $20 million. In March, they didn't give us the full revenue figure, but what they gave us was principal value traded of $2.5 billion, and assuming this 1.25% stayed parallel from February into March, we can assume revenue of $31.25 million. Now, what they gave us in April was a figure that this number right here, this 1.25%, increased by 45% month over month due to the increased volume of altcoins traded on the platform. These are things like Dogecoins, which are much more profitable for Voyager as a company. Now, this led to a direct increase of this percentage to right around 1.6 to potentially 1.81%. So, assuming that this correlation between assets under management stayed the same, and assuming 1.81% as essentially the commission, the average commission, we get preliminary revenue of $59.7 million in the month of April. In my opinion, this is the most likely scenario given the data that we have. Now, using this, we can actually assume a pretty accurate model for 2021. We're going to look at my bull case, my bear case, and then we'll play around with some price to sales ratios. First and foremost, my bull case. I'm going to plug in January, February, March, and April data into the first 4 slots here. Going forwards after that though, I'm going to assume a 15% monthly compounded rate for the remainder 8 months of 2021. This could very well be considered conservative, given that from January to February, Voyager increased their total revenues right around 2 to 3x, while from February to March, they increased by 50%, and from March to April, it was a double up. Huge growth. So assuming a 15% monthly growth rate, which as long as cryptocurrencies continue to do well, is very, very likely, we get right around $1 billion in total revenue for full year 2021. We can use this number and play around with some price to sales ratios now. The fully diluted share count at Voyager Digital is 172 million shares. Using the current share price of right around $17.30, again, this fluctuates throughout the day, we get a current market cap of $3 billion. This gives us a potential price to sales ratio using 2021 numbers of 2.8 at this moment in time. So if we assume potentially a price to sales ratio of 15 by the end of this year, which is very likely given that a company like Voyager has EBITDA margins, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciations, and amortizations of 50%, 50% of total revenue. This could assume a potential net income margin of 35 to 40%. So this price to sales ratio could very well be a price to earnings ratio of 35 to 40, which given the growth that Voyager is experiencing is very, very likely in my opinion. This gives us a market cap of $16 billion, a price target of almost $100 per share, right around a 4 to 5x in share price by the end of this year. I personally think this is one of the most likely scenarios. But now let's take a look at my more bearish case, taking a look at a 10% compounded monthly growth rate. This gives us potential revenue of $776 million for full year 2021. A price to sales ratio of 3.8 using these 2021 numbers, and again, using that same 15 price to sales ratio, gives us a price target of $68 per share. So if you want to go more conservative, I think this is the model you go with and assume a price target of $68 by the end of this year. Now, obviously, the only variable left is the price to sales ratio. Is this too low? Is this too high? I think a 15 is more of a base case. Given the profitability of their business, I really think it is going to take a few earnings reports for Wall Street to fully recognize the profitability of their business, and that's why the stock has been kind of disrespected over the past couple of months. But let's assume a more bearish case first, of a price to sales ratio of 10. Even with my, bullish numbers now, we still get a price target of $62 per share, right around a 3 to 4x in share price by the end of this year. Phenomenal. If we assume a 10 price to sales ratio, so a bearish multiple and a bearish growth rate, we get a price target of $45, a potential 2 to 3x or right around a 3x in share price by the end of this year. Again, a phenomenal investment, even using the worst case scenario, in my personal opinion. Now, we can potentially, this is the bear case obviously, let's take a look at my more bullish case. A 20 price to sales ratio would give a price target of $124 per share by 2021, rather by December of this year. And again, using my more conservative numbers here, using a 20 price to sales ratio, we get potentially a price target of $90 per share. So you've seen all of these different scenarios here, but it really is up to you to determine the one that you think is most likely. In my personal opinion, I think there is a legit shot of Voyager Digital stock trading at least $100 per share by year's end. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is just using my numbers. A lot of it will be up to the way that Wall Street ends up valuing the company based on their current valuation. And it really depends on the way Wall Street feels toward cryptocurrency-related stocks. Obviously, if we experience a bear market in the cryptocurrency industry as a whole, Voyager Digital will feel that as a company. And in my opinion, Wall Street is pricing that into their stock. But just generally speaking, this stock has been decimated over the past couple of weeks for no dang reason. And Yahoo Finance doesn't go further than a couple days back. But you'll see, this guy topped out at $30 per share back in April. This company has grown significantly since then, and what we have is a situation where fundamentals continue to improve to the upside in a massive way, while the share price continues to decline. And these are some of the best times to get invested into a stock. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to go buy Voyager stock or anything along those lines. But if I didn't have a position in Voyager, and if I didn't have 40% of my portfolio tied up in the stock, I would definitely go out and buy some shares. Because this decline we're seeing in stock price is not related to anything the business is doing wrong. Fundamentals continue to improve, and the stock and Wall Street continues to ignore that. Looking at the token price, it is still stagnating over the past couple of months, really awaiting that Voyager loyalty program. As soon as that comes, I expect a big bump in the price of VGX, and where we really start to see that correlation again between total funded accounts and growth in the VGX price. If you want, again, a more accurate and in-depth look into my price targets and thoughts on VGX, check out the link in the description down below. That's my full analysis. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here. If you found any value in it whatsoever, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much, and have a great day.